Have you ever wondered why most security engineers was once a network engineer? Well, in this episode, we're going to explore why network engineers make excellent security engineers. So don't forget to click like, subscribe, and that notification bell. Welcome to Debt Free in IT. I'm your host, Mike. This podcast is for anyone who's looking to get into the IT industry, whether it's for a career change or you're just interested. I think you come to the right place. So whether you're new to the industry or you're a seasoned professional, you may have noticed that most security engineers was once a great network engineer also, or they at least have a good networking background, which means that that security engineer went from configuring and managing routers and switches on a network to protecting a network from cybersecurity threats and cybersecurity breaches. If you're not familiar with networking or security, then this move in somebody's career may seem like a large pivot, but it's actually not. You often hear me say that networking and security goes hand in hand. So they're like family members, they're like coworkers, they're like brothers. Can't have one without the other. It goes hand in hand, networking and security. And with that being said, I remember earlier in my career, I was once asked that, okay, Mike, where do you see yourself in a couple of years? What position do you want to end up doing? So back then I was going deep down the route of I wanted to be a hacker, an ethical hacker. Also, I wanted to get into some pen testing. So I told that person, hey, I want to be a hacker. And they told me, said, well, Mike, you can't secure a network if you don't know how a network operates. So needless to say, I ended up in networking. Let's talk about it. So one of the reasons that I think network engineers make great security engineers is they already have that strong foundational networking knowledge. So when you start going down that network path, you get introduced into a lot of terms and technologies. You learn about different protocols. You learn about networking topologies, different device configurations. You learn how to configure those devices. Then you learn how to harden up those devices. And all of this goes into the making of a great network engineer. So in this position, understanding the network is key. If you don't understand the network, what are you doing in that position? So knowing how the data flows, knowing how to troubleshoot these networking issues, it shortens the learning curve whenever you switch from network to security. So things like access control lists, or ACLs for short, is learned in networking, used a lot in networking, but this is also used on the security side of the house with being able to control who has access to what on the network. So someone that was a network engineer, they're already familiar with this. So when they cross over, it's not nothing that they have to learn. They're just doing it implementing it in a different way. So a lot of this, like I said, networking and security goes hand in hand, and learning the networking part makes it easier for that network engineer once he crosses over to security. So my second reason that I think a network engineer makes great security engineers is awareness. So as a network engineer, you're able to spot out abnormal network behavior. So this abnormal behavior could be a security breach, could be a device issue. You never know. They're able to spot this out because in most networking departments, you have tools that's needed to monitor the network. Most will already know what their network baseline is and how the network behaves on a normal day. So simple things like, oh, I know that shift change is in the morning at 8 a.m. Then we have another change around 2 p.m. So someone in networking that knows the network, they're going to automatically know that, okay, around these times, we should have a peak in the network because everyone is logging in. Everyone's trying to get in to start their shift. So if someone starts calling, reporting issues around this time, one of the first things you're going to check is see, okay, what time is it? Okay, shift change. So that could be some of the issues that somebody is having that, oh, you're experiencing a little slowness because of this. So things like that is going to help out that network engineer. So being able to be aware and being able to spot out different things if something is normal or something is abnormal. On the networking side of things, after you've been in network, you become where you're, I'm not going to say always on edge, but the network is going to be your baby. The network is going to become your baby. So you're going to know, just like if you have a child, you know when your child is sick, you know when something's going on with them. So same thing with that network. You're going to know that, oh, something just ain't right today. Or, oh, we're experiencing some issues with this. And then on top of that, you're going to have the tools to help you monitor your network and be able to spot out when things is wrong. So being proactive instead of reactive. So all of this carries over to being on the security side of things, because just because you left networking don't mean that you're not monitoring anything anymore. So you're still going to have different things to monitor on the security side of things, but you're already going to be pretty much, if you may say, trained to where you're able to spot out different things that's abnormal because you already been in networking and you already have that experience going in your favor. Sorry to interrupt this video. According to my YouTube analytics, 84% of my viewers are not subscribed. If I provided any value to you in any one of my episodes and you're not subscribed, please consider doing so because it does help out the channel. And also, if you're listening to this in your favorite podcasting app, please leave me a review and share this episode with a friend. Now back to the episode. So my next reason why network engineers make great security engineers, I touched on it a little bit before, but having that proactive mindset. So being proactive instead of reactive, that's what it's all about. In networking and security, that doesn't change. So when you're in some of the earlier positions, it's kind of hard to be proactive per se, because if you're on desktop, it's kind of hard to be proactive to mitigate if a desktop fails or not. So early on in my career, I never got a chance to experience none of the being proactive part because I'm in desktop, I'm in help desk, I'm taking calls as they're coming in. It wasn't anything or a lot of things I was managing. But then once you get up in that networking department, you got to learn to be proactive instead of reactive. So you're going to be able to have monitoring tools to where you can spot out if something's going on. You can spot out if this is going to potentially become an issue. So you can start working on it. So you get a chance to fix that issue before anyone experiences that issue, which is the key in any IT world, any IT industry, any IT department. You want to go ahead and fix your issues without the users being affected. You want as much uptime as possible. You don't want your network to go down. So from that networking perspective, once you get into networking and you get your experience in, a lot of times you're already going to be trained to be proactive instead of reactive. So that's going to carry over also whenever you transition to security, because once you get into those higher level roles, networking, security, let's say server team, database, whatever, it's all about being proactive instead of reactive then, because you don't want one single point of failure. You don't want one device going down and is making everyone have issues. So a lot of times you want to try to mitigate that as much as possible. So my next reason why network engineers make great security engineers is close collaboration. So as a network engineer, you often work with the security team. So a lot of times if there's an issue you got to resolve that could have something to do with a security device, you have to pull in someone on that security team, because let's think, if we're working on an issue and I'm troubleshooting my device, my router, my switch, I don't have access to the next device along that path. So I may have to contact the security team to have them to take a look at their device to see if that issue may be something on their end or if it is indeed something with the network. And trust me, everywhere I've been, it's always the network. Everybody blame it on the network. But sometimes it ain't the network. So you might have to contact that security team or that security member and work with them to resolve the issue. So while you being so close with working with the security team, when it's time to make that transition, you're already familiar with what lines or what responsibilities is on the networking end and what responsibilities is on the security end. And then also when you're implementing a new product, so let's say you're implementing a new security product or the security team is implementing a new product. A lot of times that product may end up having some configurations that needs to be changed on the networking end. So you're going to work real close together then, because that security engineer may be responsible for letting you know that, oh, we need to implement this on the networking side. So then it's up to someone on the networking side to research that technology, learn about that technology, and then go through the process of implementing that technology. So them and that security person, like I said, you're going to be best friends. You're working together, and then just one-off issues. Could be a security thing. So things like viruses on PCs. A lot of times security, at that point, they may contact desktop, but then let's say if it's a virus on a PC and let's say it's after hours, a lot of times you may get called to on the networking side to shut down that device or to shut down that port. So a lot of times you're going to be real close with security. If I had to say a percentage, I would say that you're more close to security than probably any team in the IT industry, any team in your IT department there, because like I said, it's so close together that a lot of times you end up working with security more than anyone else. Now, I'm not going to say you're not going to work with any other teams, because you definitely will, especially on different projects that you may have to implement, different things that another team may be standing up on the network. So you're going to be responsible for helping out with the networking portion of it. That could be just giving them the IP addressing or whatever, but somehow they're going to have to reach out to that networking team to help them with the networking piece of their device. So all of this just goes to say that while you working real close with security and real close with other teams, when you transition over, it makes it a little bit easier because you're already used to working with them and you already know what lines is on the networking side and what responsibilities is on the security side. So if you're currently in networking and you're trying to transition to a security role, one of the things you might want to consider is, one thing, getting a security certification. So let's say a Security Plus, that's one of the most widely known and widely accepted certifications to get into the security field. And then also looking into some firewall certifications. So if your company uses Palo Alto firewalls, you may want to start going down the Palo Alto path, looking at some certifications and try to obtain some of those certifications. And then also you can speak with the security manager to ask them what kind of requirements they have. So a lot of times they're going to already know you. You may already have a rapport with them. So they're going to know that, oh, you're coming from networking. A lot of times they know that you're coming from networking, that transition ain't going to be too hard for you. So you could check with them and see, oh, what type of requirements we have or what type of requirements they have. And he could say, oh, we need you to have this certification here. So if it's a Palo Alto certification, then you know that, okay, I need to start studying and learn some Palo Alto. But speaking to that security manager, like I said, it's going to give you the upper hand on anyone from the outside, because he's going to give you the requirements that they want. And then in some cases, it may not be no requirements. So you may already have a couple of years experience in networking and they just need someone in security. So you're able to make that transition over without having to obtain any other certifications. So like I said, usually in that networking position, usually you'll see a lot of networking folks end up, after they've been in networking for a while, you may get bored of it. You may just may not be no room to grow in your networking department. So a lot of times you'll see a lot of them start to switch over to the security side of things, because it is a learning curve, but it's not like you're coming in, going from networking, trying to be a software engineer. So it's a learning curve there, but I don't think it's a real steep learning curve. So, because some of the networking stuff is going to carry over to the security side of things. So that brings me to the end of this episode. Hopefully you found some value in this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook, you can follow me at DebtFreeInIT. If you have any questions or comments, you can email me at debtfreeinit@gmail.com, or you can visit my website, debtfreeinitwithmike.com. Other than that, I'll see you next week. Peace.